Hi folks, this is Derek from New York City. Today I would like to continue my discourse on communication and effective speaking. I did a first video. If you check on my TikTok and YouTube, you will see the first video I did as an introductory to what I consider the importance of being able to communicate effectively, verbally, to all audience, any type of audience. So I did a video first, introductory video, which is already on TikTok and my YouTube sites. And today I will move on to a second video, second aspect. Now this will be a general thing. It is not pertaining to any particular topic as such, but one topic that I've been thinking about to respond to is what I've been seeing and hearing from lots of individuals on TikTok. Youngsters mostly, teenagers, adolescents, young adults, and very rare, some older adults, whom I'm surprised have this concern or this misunderstanding. The question is, what is it to be a gay person? What does gayness mean? What does the gay identity mean? Well, first of all, I've been around the world for quite a while. I've engaged in many things, been here, done that. I've also been an advocate for people living with HIV and AIDS in the gay community and the fight and struggles they had during the period of the 1980s and 90s when the HIV was killing millions of people all over the world, and when medical assistance was lacking from the US federal government and so many other governments, all because of religious and other cultural prejudices. The gay community, especially those who are considered gay or homosexual, were identified as the criminals or the evil within our midst that had to be destroyed, incarcerated, or quarantined for bringing this malady onto society. This was the view of many. Even prominent politicians held that view. And if I can recall, even President Ronald Reagan felt that the gays were responsible for bringing the scourge of HIV onto our sacred domain, heterosexual domain, and they should be quarantined, among other things. So we had a period in the 1980s and 90s when the world held its breath as people died under circumstances beyond comprehension, when it was finally discovered or discerned that some virus contracted through sexual intercourse of all sorts, so long as the body fluids were being exchanged between two or more individuals, chances are you're likely to contract the virus that way. Body fluids also mean injection drug users. Those who share needles, intravenous needles, can also share the virus and also share hepatitis C, because those are blood infections. So HIV was eventually discerned as a virus that is transmitted sexually through the exchange of bodily fluids, either vaginal sex, anal sex, where oral sex was misunderstood for a long while. Except some people said you can contract it that way, but the scientists and the medical community have discovered that the human saliva kills the HIV virus. So even if someone ejaculates in your mouth, if you are doing fellatio on him or her, your saliva will kill the virus if it's in that semen that you may have received from doing the fellatio or from vaginal fellatio. So you cannot catch HIV virus from consuming semen, which I personally object very much to. I think semen should not be consumed orally. Semen has a specific purpose. It is to be injected in the vagina so as to facilitate the pregnancy of a woman. Semen is from the man, is supposed to be used for impregnating the female, therefore continuing procreation. If you jerk off, you waste the energy of fluid, the energy or semen that you're supposed to use in that manner. Jerking off wastes that energy in your body, and it makes you physically weak after a while if you continue doing masturbation on a regular basis. So that is on the side. That is just a highlight on some of the issues that people were concerned as a result of HIV in the 90s and the 80s. Today it's much more understood. There are medications that they call protease inhibitors that can be prescribed by a doctor to treat the virus, to eradicate the virus in your blood to the point of 20 or less copies of that virus has been able to, the medical community, the technology so far today is able to eradicate at least up to 20 copies of that virus in your blood. It was 25, but recently I understand they has been able to eradicate at least up to 20 copies within your blood. And if you are taking the HIV medication for a number of years, steadily, according to prescription, and you reach that point where it is called undetected. That's the status. When you reach the level where you have 20 or less copies of virus in your blood, it is called undetected. It means, and I repeat, when you have 20 or less copies of the HIV virus in your bloodstream, it is called or labeled or classified as undetected. And even if you want to infect somebody with HIV, you cannot. You're no longer able to infect anyone with the HIV virus, even if you want to. When you reach the level of 20 or less copies in your bloodstream, you can no longer infect anyone with the virus. Main reasons being that those 20 copies or less in your blood is so weak. It is so weak it can no longer infect anyone. It can no longer infect because the medications you're on, you're killing all those viruses before. So those replicas that remains, which it is, those 20 or more copies that still remain, they are called replicas. They're just virus useless. They can't harm. They're harmless. So it cannot infect anyone. So you're safe to have sexual intercourse even without a condom at that stage. Even at that stage of undetection, you can still have sexual intercourse with anyone without a condom safely. But it is always better to mutually agree. It is always safer and much better to mutually agree before having sex whether you will or will not have or use condoms. If both parties agree we will not use condoms, so be it. If you agree that we should have condoms, use it. If one party insists he or she there should be a condom, but the other person will have to walk away because the other person must insist he or she will not have sex with you if there is no condom. Therefore, sexual intercourse cannot happen. That's your choice also. Now, the question of gayness, as I indicated earlier, is a mental attitude. I repeat, when someone takes on the identity as being gay, he or she has adopted a mental attitude about how he or she intends to live his or her life, not only sexually, but generally. A person who considers himself gay has a same-sex feelings within him or her. He or she is attracted to male or female, or to the same gender sexually, or find the same gender sexually appealing. That is the first thing. You've got to have sexual attraction or feelings for another person of your same gender. Now you, after having this, once having recognized that you have these desires, you decide to live a life based on that type of sexual orientation. It means that you chose to associate with people who have similar desires. You feel comfortable associating or dealing with people with similar desires. It doesn't mean that you you find every individual of the same gender sexually appealing. That is impossible. Whether you're straight, gay, or not. Not every individual will sexually appeal to you, but you feel safer being in the environment, being in the company, or associating with people with similar cravings or desires. So you call yourself the gay community because you have these similarities in desires, in attitude, in association, in feelings, and in being socially comfortable. You prefer to go to bars where the similar individuals hang out or drink or reach or gather. You prefer to be in venues where this type of community of your type, your desire, your interests are associated or that frequent. And that makes you feel safe in that environment because we all share a commonality which we all recognize and accept. That, my friend, is called gayness. You're not born gay. I repeat, no one, male or female, is born gay. He or she can be born with homosexual or lesbian desires because that is a genetic thing. If you find yourself physically or sexually appealing, if you find the same gender sexually appealing or desirable, that is a genetic thing. That's something you were born with. It cannot be changed. It's a part of your genetic makeup. Despite what the religious personages and the Bibles and the Quran and all those things that are written by humans say, it defies natural reality. It defies the same God that they preach to, that they believe in, are supposed to follow. Because if the same God created all of us, male and female, in his or her image, well then why would this same God who created all of us in his or her image do something that he or she would regret or feel ashamed of or resentful of? Why would you create something that you'll feel angered about when this thing does not behave the way you expect it to behave? Well, why create it in the first place? That is common sense to me. It's natural, normal reason that us humans have. Why create something if it's going to be detrimental to itself or displeasurable to you, the creator? It makes no sense. Why give me freedom to choose what I do with my life? Yet you say you create me, and at the same time you give me freedom to choose. To walk this way, to walk that way, to go here, to go there, to choose what I eat, sleep, etc. with what I do with my personal individual life. You give me the freedom to do and to make all those choices. And at the same time, after having given me all this freedom of choice, you're going to get angry if I make choices that does not please you, or you're going to make rules that I should follow. Bear in mind, you gave me freedom of choice, but at the same time, you're going to tell me, don't do this, don't do that, don't go here, don't go there. Well, then it contradicts the whole concept of freedom of choice. If I have freedom of choice, it means I have freedom to make my own choices or decisions without anyone telling me what to do or what not to do. That is true freedom of choice. But if I've got to comply or to be obedient to any dogma or any scripture, well, then I have no freedom of choice at all. If I have to be obedient or comply to any dogma or any scripture that you claim was inspired by God or Allah, whatever name you call it, well then, I have no freedom of choice at all. My freedom of choice is a farce. The whole idea that I have freedom of choice is a farce based on those scriptures that you seem to subscribe to, whether it's Islam, Christianity, or any of the others. If I have to comply with your rules or to obey your rules or saying or message, I have no freedom of choice. Amen. So as I said earlier, gayness is a mental attitude that you take on, that you adopt in keeping with your perception of what life you should live. If you chose to be flamboyant, As a gay person, that's the choice. If you chose to speak loudly and carry on in that fashion, that's a choice you adopt. As a gay person, that's a choice. If you chose to hang out with people of your ilk, to associate or go places where people of your ilk assemble or go, that too is your choice. All of that is incorporated in what is called the gay identity. You can be homosexual, you can have sexual attraction to the same gender, but you may not want to go to bars. You may not like drinking liquor or alcohol or doing drugs. You may not like associating with those flamboyant individuals who make a lot of noise and speak loudly and call themselves she and he and doing and all the other genders, all the other things, labels they use to identify with. You may not associate with them or feel that you ought to associate with them. You may not like being in their company. But that does not make you anti-gay. It's just that you don't find pleasure in the company of those people. Or you do not feel a commonality in the company of those people. That does not make you anti-gay. You are homosexual, you admit it, you accept that genetic fact. But you prefer to live your life as you see fit to please you and what you desire to, how you desire to live it. And that also is your choice. You don't have to identify with the gays who call themselves gay by adoption. No. You don't have to associate with them. You don't have to identify yourself with them. You don't have to carry a flag that says I am gay or I am not. No. You don't have to do any of those things. You have a choice to live how you chose to live. And that's your choice again. So for me to reiterate, I shall reiterate the points I've made earlier throughout this discourse. For those who are still confused, young and not so young and older, like myself, gayness, you are not born gay. No one is ever born gay. The gay identity has to come from someone who recognizes he or she is homosexual. He or she has desires, same-sex desires. Therefore, he or she is categorized as a homosexual or a lesbian. Both categories are same-sex desires. But the gayness is an addition. The gay identity is a socio-political addition to your life. You chose to live a certain specific way. You chose to be out as a homo, to let the world know that you have homosexual tendencies and that you identify openly as a homo, which is your choice still. You chose to hang out with people fellow homos like yourself. You feel that they are your ilk and you feel comfortable and safe among them or with that community. That also is your choice. And it's also part of the gay identity that you just adopted. Whether it's flamboyant, whether whatever aspect of the gay identity you chose to live, that is your choice. But do not expect others to follow you. Do not decry others if they fail to comply with what you have chosen or how you have chosen to live your life. You do not have the right to tell others that they should come out of the closet, that they should not operate undercover or down low. You do not have that right to tell anyone how they should live their sexual life. Ever. Because you chose to live the way you do. If I chose to live down low, if I chose not to be or operate openly or to tell the world my sexual desires, that's my choice. I have reason to do so, and I have a right to do so or to live in that manner. How dare you tell me I should stand on a platform and declare my sexual identity and choices? You don't have that right or authority to tell me how to live my sexual life. If you don't like the way I live my life, you don't have to associate with me. You don't have to do anything with me. You have a choice. to make. If someone you approach or someone approaches you and you have conversation with that person, male or female, and you get to know what he or she prefers sexually, you have a choice at that point to say, listen, these are my choices sexually. This is my identity sexually. And your choices and identity does not suit mine. So therefore, we are not compatible. That is your choice. You walk away. If someone hits on you or wants to get acquainted with you, and you first inquire about their reasons want to get acquainted with you, and then you realize that they are interested in you, not only personally but also sexually, you must let them know what is your sexual preference. That is your responsibility to let the person know what is your sexual identity, if you want to, and or preferences. So there will be no confusion. At the get-go, let the person know what is your sexual identity, your chosen sexual identity, and your sexual preferences from anyone. You get that out of the way, and then the rest is easy. Other communication aspects becomes easy because there is no second guessing anymore. You've put your cards on the table, and you expect the other person to do likewise. Whether you're gay, homosexual, lesbian, pansexual, or whatever category you chose, putting your cards on the table from the get-go is necessary, absolutely necessary, to avoid all or any misunderstanding along the way. And it also gives you credibility as a person. So I shall stop here, and I hope you get the gist, and I hope I was able to communicate effectively as I try to in all of my discourses, and as I emphasize to all of those who chose this platform to use, whether as a content creator, as a public speaker, as someone just who wants to get something off your chest, who wants to tell the world how you feel, what you expect from it. Someone who just want to have a chat with others, who just want to be listened to. You chose this platform to air that expectation so others can listen to you, and who knows, provide feedback. Whatever you chose to do with this platform, you expect to get an audience to give you feedback. It encourages you to do what you do. And it also helps people or individuals with self-confidence, because there are lots of people that lack self-confidence, and they say so openly. They lack self-confidence. They lack the ability to express themselves verbally, comfortably with others. So this is a learning experience not only for me, but for many others who will be viewing this video. And I hope it helps you to come out of the shell, to try doing what I do. Speak naturally, normally. Use whatever language you feel comfortable with. And gradually, as you keep doing it, short videos by and by, as you keep doing it, you will develop individual self-confidence. And trust me, you will look forward to make more videos. As you get comfortable doing this, you will be induced to produce more and more videos of this sort. Okay, so if you like what I've been saying today on this video, please like and share as usual to your friends and supporters, and let us keep this conversation going. And I hope it helps some of you, if not all of you, it helps some of you who's taking the time to listen to it. Bye for now, and have a good evening.